CTV's Coltron Praill is in Ottawa. He's tracking all of this for us today as the developments are fast and furious. Colton, let's begin with the key takeaways from the RCMP news conference last hour and the timing and how it coincides with that announcement earlier today from India that, that they were bringing diplomats back, leaving Canada.
Yeah, I just want to say that CTV has now had multiple sources reach out and say that this wasn't an expulsion, that actually India pulled these diplomats prior to an expulsion occurring. So this was an Indian move, although the Canadian government was in motion to do so. We heard from Canada's representative in India. He was summoned by their Minister of Foreign Affairs earlier, and he said coming out of that meeting that Canada has done what India has requested and presented irrefutable evidence, and now it's up to them to look into these allegations that we heard the RCMP listing off today, and that includes homicides, it includes extortion, it includes the use of organized crime to elicit information to threaten the Sikh community in Canada and the Southeast community in Canada. These are incredibly serious allegations that the RCMP has put forth. They've said it's a threat to Canadians' public safety and something that they have been working on for quite some time, a special task force dedicated to this since February of 2024. What we're really seeing here is the extent of this investigation goes far, far beyond the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar that Justin Trudeau announced in the House of Commons last September in 2023. This is, as the RCMP details it, a pattern that is occurring not just in Canada, but in countries around the world. They say that they were involved with other allied intelligence agencies. They say these kinds of techniques are being used in those other countries as well. And crucially, they say that this past weekend they were meeting with Indian government officials to try to get their cooperation to pursue these investigations and look at the involvement of Indian diplomats and officials. And they say that that collaboration that they expected isn't something that they received. And then you see this follow-up this morning with India withdrawing some of its high-profile diplomats and officials, and you're led to this situation where it's very unclear, certainly, the timeline here of what happened and the need for this rushed nature. You know, the RCMP is very aware that this is a holiday Monday here in our country, and so to have a press conference of this severity on such short notice speaks to the desire to get that information out as quickly as possible, and certainly in response to the messaging put out by the Indian government.
Right, and there was a lot of frustration, I sense, from reporters who were asking questions about specifics, how many investigations, how many police officers involved, how many charges. But I just want to go back, Colton, if you don't mind, and repeat and get you to repeat what you are reporting. Your reporting is indicating that these diplomats were not expelled from Canada. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, multiple sources have said that the Indian government withdrew these officials. Now, that lines up in coordination with what the Indian government itself has released. However, excuse me.
It's okay.
I just got a message there. They were just conflicting information. They're expelled prior to the withdrawal, is the latest information. Apologies for that. As you can tell,
I know it's developing
expelled prior to the withdrawal. This is developing very, very, very quickly. So expelled prior to the withdrawal. So that would counteract, what it is that the Indian government is putting forward, and that would line up with what we heard from the RCMP in the investigation, that there were asks to inquire about removing the diplomatic immunity from some Indian officials, but that those asks were not acquiesced to, that they weren't agreed to, that diplomatic immunity was not lifted from certain Indian diplomats.
As for any statement, anything you are hearing from the Canadian government today, Colton, as you mentioned, it is a holiday, but have you heard anything? We heard the RCMP say they couldn't comment on a number of areas, including whether or not the diplomats had been expelled or recalled. They say that was up to the government of Canada. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I've been reaching out to the Government of Canada on this. We may get more information later on in the day, but the only official public commentary that we've seen is from the Chargé d'Affaires in India today, where he spoke and said that this was in relation to what he described as clear evidence that the Canadian government had put forth to Indian officials with regards to these allegations, with regards to these investigations. And that's the key part there, investigations plural. There are many, many different areas where the RCMP is focusing.
All right, Colton Praill, I know you're covering this today, watching for all the developments, so thanks for that. We'll check in with you later this afternoon.